All right, let's jump right in. We're about to take a deep dive into a simple herb, one you've probably got sitting in your kitchen right now. But what makes it so special, so fascinating, is that it gets a shout out in one of the world's most sacred texts, and that mention hints at a secret that science is only just now starting to figure out.
Our story really kicks off right here, in the 55th chapter of the Quran. The verse is listing some of God's creations, grain with its husk, and al-Rayhan. Now, al-Rayhan is the Arabic word for scented plants, and a whole lot of scholars agree it's pointing to one very specific, very fragrant herb, basil.
And that's the big question, isn't it? I mean, think about it for a second. Of all the millions of plants on this planet, why basil? Why did this one get the special mention? It can't just be a random choice. There's got to be a deeper reason. And we're going to find out what it is.
So, to get to the bottom of this, we have to go back to the source material. The word Rayhan doesn't just show up once in the Quran, it's actually there twice, and each time it gives us another clue about why it's so important.
And this is where it gets really interesting. On one hand, it's mentioned as this earthly gift, something created for us to enjoy right here, right now. But on the other hand, it's described as a heavenly reward, waiting for the faithful in paradise. So this tells us basil is seen as something special, not just in this world, but in the next one too.
Now this has led to a little bit of debate. Is Rayhan just a metaphor for any kind of blessing in paradise? Or, and I find this interpretation really beautiful, is it the literal plant? Is the idea that the souls of the righteous actually leave this world with a scent as sweet as basil? Either way you look at it, the deep respect for this plant is just undeniable.
Okay, so we've established its sacred context, but let's be real. What plant are we actually talking about here? Let's connect this ancient word to the herb we all know and love today.
Yep, we are talking about basil, of course. Its scientific name is Ocimum basilicum. It's part of the mint family, which explains that incredible smell, and we use it for way more than just pesto. It's been a huge part of cooking, decorating, and traditional medicine for thousands of years.
And you can tell how important it is just by looking at all the names it has around the world. In the Arab world, it's often called al-habak. In Europe, they called it St. Joseph's wort. Some even call it the royal herb. It's clear that this isn't just one culture's treasure, it's beloved everywhere.
And get this is what blows my mind. We're not even talking about just one plant. There are over 60 different kinds of basil. You've got your classic sweet basil, but there's also lemon basil, holy basil, even cinnamon basil. The variety is just amazing.
Okay, so the history, the culture, that's all rock solid. The respect for this plant goes back centuries. But here's the million-dollar question. Does all this ancient wisdom actually hold up under a microscope? What does modern science have to say? Because this is where our little investigation takes a really interesting turn.
So now we're going to bridge the gap. We're going from ancient texts to modern laboratories. We're about to find out if that special mention of basil was just a coincidence or if it was a clue to some seriously powerful biological properties. Now, before we get into the really cool stuff, we need to know about the main hero of this story, antioxidants. The simplest way to think about them is as your body's personal bodyguards. They go around protecting your cells from damage caused by these nasty little things called free radicals.
And it turns out, basil is absolutely loaded with these protectors. I mean, it's packed. Sweet basil has one called eugenol. Lemon basil has limonene. It's also full of things like anthocyanins and beta-carotene. These little compounds are the secret sauce behind all of its health benefits. So let's see these benefits in action. We'll start with something happening inside our bodies. There was a study, a human study, that looked at 60 people with type 2 diabetes to see what basil extract could do for their blood sugar. And the results were? Well, they were remarkable. After just 3 months, the people taking basil extract saw their blood sugar levels drop by an average of 18%. That's a huge, significant impact in the real world.
But that protective power doesn't stop there. It seems to extend to our vital organs too. A study back in 2016 found that the antioxidants in basil had a shielding effect on the liver. Now, it's super important to note, as the source makes clear, this specific study was done on animal models. But the results are really promising and point to something worth looking into more.
The potential just keeps growing. A big research review in 2013 suggested that compounds in basil might help prevent certain kinds of cancer. How? By basically boosting that antioxidant activity we talked about and helping to slow down the growth of cancer cells. And again, just to be transparent, these studies were also on animal models, so more research is needed, but wow, the potential is just incredible.
And for our last one, here's a benefit you might not see coming. We've talked about how it protects us on the inside, but what about the outside? Well, a scientific review found that when basil extract was applied to skin in a lab setting, it actually boosted moisture and reduced the look of wrinkles. This is exactly why you're starting to see basil pop up in all those high-end skincare products.
So, let's bring it all home. Let's connect all these dots. We started with a sacred mention, we toured its history across cultures, and we've just looked at the hard science. It's time to put it all together.
And here's the answer to our original question. The mention of Rayhan in the Quran, it wasn't just a pretty poetic word. It seems to be a deliberate nod to a plant with deep, real, scientifically proven value for our health. A plant that helps our bodies with everything from blood sugar to our skin. When you think about it, what we have here is a sacred hint that is now being confirmed in the laboratory. It's this piece of ancient wisdom that was there all along, just waiting patiently for us to develop the modern tools to fully understand it.
And that really leaves us with one final fascinating thought to chew on. If basil was holding on to all of these secrets, what other ancient plants and remedies, things that have been respected for thousands of years, are just sitting there waiting for their own scientific debut? Makes you wonder, what else is hiding in plain sight?